My name's Ethan Harper, and 5 years back, my family showed me exactly where I stood with them. It was my college graduation day, a moment I'd worked my tail off for, but instead of celebrating, I was sitting alone in our old house in Springfield, Illinois, staring at my diploma like it was just another piece of mail. Meanwhile, my folks were throwing a huge bash for my younger brother, Caleb, who'd flunked out of community college 2 years earlier. They didn't even tell me about it. That day, my dad called me up, not to say congrats, but to tell me, "You might have a degree, Ethan, but you're still a letdown in my book." I just said, "Good to know you're finally honest about it." Hung up. That was the day I decided I was done playing their game. Yesterday, I pulled off something that flipped the script, and now they're blowing up my phone with apologies, 17 texts, all begging, "Please, Ethan, talk to us." I wasn't going to spill this story, but it's been eating at me, and I'm curious if anyone else has dealt with family pulling this kind of stunt. It's not the worst thing out there, but it's petty, and it's got me stuck in my head, replaying it over and over. Graduation was weird to begin with. They didn't do a big in-person ceremony because of some usual restrictions, and honestly, I was fine with that. I'm not big on speeches or shaking hands with strangers. Growing up, my family always hammered on about education being everything. From the time I was a kid, it was, "Get good grades. Ethan, make something of yourself." So, I figured we'd at least have a small family thing. Maybe dinner, nothing fancy. But that morning, something felt off. Mom was in the kitchen, glued to her phone, barely saying a word. Dad was at the dining table, scrolling through his tablet, grunting when I said good morning. Caleb, no shock, was still passed out in his room. He's been on his own schedule forever, ever since he dropped out. My parents always called it his path, like he was some misunderstood genius. Caleb's the baby of the family, the one with the big smile and the knack for getting out of trouble. Me? I'm the oldest, the one who's supposed to set the example, keep things together. I used to think I was just imagining the favoritism, but deep down, I knew better. That morning, Mom kept glancing at her phone, then stepping out to the porch like she was hiding something. She said she was running to the store for milk, asked if I needed anything, but didn't wait for me to answer before she was out the door. Dad didn't look up from his tablet. I tried to shake it off, scrolling through my phone, but I couldn't help feeling like I'd messed up somehow. I heard Caleb's voice from his room, loud, laughing on a call. I caught my name in the mix, which made me pause. I walked down the hall, knocked, and pushed his door open. He was sprawled on his bed in a t-shirt, munching on chips, his laptop blasting some YouTube video. "Didn't know you were home, man," he said, which was odd since I'm always around. I asked if he had plans today. He just shrugged, said, "Yeah, something," and went back to his screen. I let it go. Back in the living room, I set my diploma on the coffee table. It had come in the mail the day before, and I thought maybe Mom or Dad would want to see it, maybe snap a picture. Nobody even glanced at it. I texted my cousin Jenny, who shot back a quick congrats, and asked if I was coming to the party later. I was like, "What party?" She texted, "Oh crap, thought you knew. Never mind." That threw me. I asked her what was going on, but she didn't reply. Mom came back with a couple bags, but it was just random snacks, chips, soda, stuff we don't usually buy. I caught her whispering with Dad in the hallway, something about keeping it quiet and not ruining the surprise. I asked Dad what was up, and he just said, "Don't worry about it, Ethan." I started feeling like I was invisible. By noon, Mom said they were heading out to grab something for Aunt Linda's birthday. I chuckled, asked if Aunt Linda was coming over, and Mom gave a quick nod, avoiding my eyes. Caleb was already gone, didn't say a word, just slammed the front door. I was alone, trying not to overthink it, but it was hard. I thought about ordering a burger, watching a movie, something to kill time. Then my phone started buzzing with texts from random aunts and uncles. "Proud of you, Ethan. Big day," but nothing from Mom, Dad, or Caleb. I checked social media, saw a couple posts tagging me, but it was just dumb memes, nothing about graduating. I texted Jenny again, asked what the deal was. No answer. Then, out of nowhere, I got a photo in the family group chat. It was a full-on party scene. Balloons, a banner that said, "Congrats, Caleb." My parents were there, grinning, cutting a cake with Caleb. Aunts, uncles, even some neighbors were in the shot, all laughing. I wasn't invited. Nobody even mentioned me. I stared at my phone, my stomach twisting. I called Mom, voicemail. Dad same. Texted Caleb, and he left me on read. I messaged Jenny, asked where they were. She said she thought I was coming, didn't realize I wasn't invited. I told her to forget it. The group chat kept blowing up with more pictures, videos, everyone having a blast. My name didn't come up once. My diploma was still sitting on the coffee table, untouched. I tried to keep it together, started wiping down the kitchen counters just to do something. The neighbor's lawnmower was humming outside, the TV droning in the background. I couldn't eat, just sipped water and scrolled through my phone, feeling like an idiot for expecting anything different. That night, Dad called. I picked up, hoping for an explanation, maybe an apology. Instead, he said, "So you got your degree, huh? Doesn't change the fact that you're a disappointment. Caleb's the one who's got real potential. No sugarcoating, just straight up gut punch." I didn't argue. I just said, Thanks for saying it out loud. Hung up. He called back, but I let it ring. I grabbed my diploma, shoved it in a drawer, and stood there, staring at the wall. I wasn't sad, I was pissed. I texted a couple buddies, asked if I was crazy for being this mad. They said no, it was messed up. But what could I do? Family's family, right? Except I was done. That night, I decided I wasn't going to let this slide. I wasn't going to be their doormat anymore. That's when I started planning, and let me tell you, it changed everything. The next morning, I woke up to a house that looked like a tornado hit it. The kitchen was a mess, greasy plates piled in the sink, empty soda cans scattered on the counter, a bag of chips spilled across the floor. Typical. Nobody in my family ever cleaned up after themselves, and I was always the one stuck dealing with it. I stood there, staring at the chaos, waiting for someone to say something about yesterday's party for Caleb, maybe even a half-hearted sorry. Nothing. Just silence. There was a sticky note on the fridge that said, leftovers inside, but I didn't touch them. I grabbed my phone, scrolled through some messages, and tried to keep my head straight. My cousin Jenny texted, asking, "You okay?" I shot back, "I'm fine," but didn't feel like getting into it. She asked if I was coming by her place later, and I didn't even reply. I was too raw. Around noon, Caleb came stomping through the front door, kicking off his sneakers and leaving them in the middle of the living room. He saw me on the couch, gave me this smug grin, and said, "Have a good night by yourself, Ethan." Laughed like it was the funniest thing ever. I just looked at him, didn't say a word. He sauntered over, tried to give me a playful shove on the shoulder. I knocked his hand away. "Man, you're always so serious," he said, rolling his eyes. "Lighten up." I didn't bite. He grabbed a can of soda from the fridge, slammed the door, and headed to his room, leaving another mess behind. I sat there, gripping my phone, trying not to lose it. Mom and Dad got home an hour later, arms full of grocery bags. Dad wouldn't even look at me, just dumped the bags on the counter and walked out. Mom started unpacking, muttering about needing space in the fridge. I was in her way, but I didn't move. She sighed, squeezed past me, and kept working like I wasn't there. I couldn't hold it in anymore. "So, we gonna talk about yesterday?" I asked, my voice louder than I meant. She froze, then said, "What's there to talk about, Ethan?" I pressed. "You threw a whole party for Caleb, who flunked out, and didn't even tell me. I was right here." She turned, hands on her hips, and said, "It's not like that. Caleb's had a rough time. He needed a win." I stared at her, and I didn't. She waved me off. "You're making this bigger than it is. Be happy for your brother." I didn't say anything else. She slammed the fridge door and went to the living room. I headed to my room, my head spinning. My phone started buzzing with texts from cousins, a few friends, even an uncle I hadn't talked to in years. They were asking if I was pissed, if I was okay. Guess word was spreading that I wasn't at the party. Jenny sent me a screenshot from the family group chat. Mom posting pictures of Caleb with the cake. Everyone smiling, looking like the perfect family. Someone asked, "Where's Ethan?" No one replied. I didn't respond to any of the messages. I just sat on my bed, scrolling through my phone, looking at the picture of my diploma I'd snapped the day before. Then I pulled up the party photos again. The more I looked, the angrier I got. Later, I was back in the kitchen, grabbing a glass of water, when Caleb strolled in. He leaned against the counter, sipping a drink, and started yapping about how everyone was so proud of him. "Mom and Dad get it," he said, smirking. "Not everyone's made for college. I've got bigger plans." I couldn't help it. "What plans?" I asked. He shrugged, said, "You wouldn't get it." I snapped, "You're just coasting, Caleb." He got in my face, all puffed up. "Watch it, man." I pushed him back. He called me a nobody, said Dad was right about me being a letdown. I told him to shut his mouth. He took a swing, but I blocked it, shoved him away. Mom rushed in, yelling, "Stop it, both of you." Dad appeared, said, "Grow up, you too." Then he pointed at me. "Clean this mess up, Ethan. You're the responsible one." I looked around at the counters Caleb had trashed. "I didn't make this," I said. Dad just glared. "Do it." Mom grabbed Caleb, pulled him out of the room. I heard them whispering. Dad grabbed his keys, stormed out, slammed the door. I stood there, fist clenched, realizing this wasn't new. It's always been like this. Caleb screws up. I get the lecture. He gets cash. I'm told to save mine. Every time he messes up, they say he's figuring it out. I do something right. It's no big deal. I started digging through old texts, bank statements, anything to prove I wasn't imagining this. Sure enough, I found transfers for bills I didn't use, money I gave Mom for groceries that ended up in Caleb's pocket. There was an email from Dad, months old, asking for my credit card info for some family expense. I knew now it was for Caleb's streaming subscriptions. I screenshotted everything. I texted Jenny, asked if she'd ever noticed anything shady with family money. She said yeah, but she stayed out of it. Told me she overheard Mom tell Aunt Linda I was responsible enough to help out more, since Caleb was struggling. I asked if she had proof. She said it was just a conversation, but she remembered it clear as day. I thanked her, told her to keep it quiet. I opened a note on my phone, started jotting down every time Caleb got bailed out. The time he wrecked Mom's car, and they blamed a bad tire. The time he got caught sneaking liquor from a store, and Dad paid the owner to keep it quiet. The time I got chewed out for not sticking up for Caleb when he started a fight at a barbecue. All of it. I realized I'd shelled out thousands over the years, bills, groceries, random expenses, all while Caleb skated free. I started a spreadsheet, tracking every dollar, every date, every time I covered for them. I wasn't even halfway done, and I was fuming. This wasn't just about the party anymore. It was about years of being their backup plan, their ATM. I wasn't gonna let it slide. A couple days after the party fiasco, I couldn't shake the anger. It wasn't just the celebration they threw for Caleb while I sat alone. It was the whole pattern, years of it, staring me in the face. I was done being the family doormat. That morning, I found Mom in the kitchen, same as always, scrolling through her phone, sipping coffee. I took a deep breath and said, "We need to talk." She barely looked up, just mumbled, "What now, Ethan?" I laid it out. "I know about the money. The bills, the groceries, the stuff you said was for the house that went to Caleb. I want it back." She laughed, like I'd told a bad joke. "You're being ridiculous," she said, setting her phone down. I didn't back off. "I'm serious. I've got records." Her face changed, got all tight. "What are you gonna do, Ethan? Take your own family to court?" I stared her down. "If I have to." She stood up, got right in my face. "You need to show some respect. I raised you." I didn't flinch. "Respect's a two-way street, Mom." She slapped me, hard. I didn't move, just looked at her. She muttered, "You're just like your dad, always stirring up trouble." I said, "No, I just want what's mine." She stormed off, yelling for Dad over her shoulder. I heard her on the phone in the next room, voice all heated. I went to my room, adrenaline pumping. I started pulling my stuff together, clothes, laptop, a few books, my diploma. I wasn't sure where I was going yet, but I knew I couldn't stay. I texted my buddy Mark, asked if I could crash at his place for a bit. He said, "Yeah, man, no problem." I started packing, throwing things into a duffel bag. Caleb barged in, saw the mess, and grinned. "What, you running away?" he said, leaning against the doorframe. "No," I said, zipping the bag. "I'm done." He laughed, like it was all a game. "You'll be back, Ethan. You always are." I pushed past him, and he tried to nudge me, like we were kids messing around. I shoved him back, harder than I meant. He stumbled, yelled, "Mom." She came running, saw us, and lit into me. "Stop being so aggressive, Ethan. What's wrong with you?" I looked at her, calm as I could. "Stay out of this." I grabbed my bags and headed downstairs. Dad was just walking in, saw me with my stuff. "Where do you think you're going?" he asked, arms crossed. I didn't stop. "I'm leaving. I'm done. And I want my money back." He smirked, like I was a kid throwing a tantrum. "You're not getting a dime. You, this family, everything, roof over your head, food, all of it." I turned, looked him in the eye. "Not anymore." He stepped in front of the door, blocking me. I pushed past, and he grabbed my arm, tight. I shook him off. "Don't test me, Ethan," he said, voice low. "You're ungrateful." I didn't answer, just walked out, slammed the door behind me. My heart was pounding, but I kept moving. I crashed at Mark's for a few days, sleeping on his lumpy couch. It wasn't much, but it was better than home. First thing I did was lock down my accounts. Changed passwords on my bank, my email, anything tied to the family. I took my name off the utilities for the house, made sure they couldn't sneak me back on. I sent Mom and Dad an email with the spreadsheet I'd made, every dollar they'd taken, every bill I'd paid that wasn't mine, every time they'd used my money for Caleb. I wrote, "Don't contact me unless it's to pay me back." I blocked Caleb's number, blocked Mom's too. I left Dad's line open, just so he'd see my messages. I wasn't messing around anymore. I started texting Jenny, filling her in on what happened. She said she wasn't surprised, that she'd seen how they treated me for years. She told me some cousins were starting to whisper about the party, wondering why I wasn't there. A few of them texted me, asking what was going on. I didn't reply. I didn't need their pity. Jenny sent me more screenshots from the family group chat. Mom posting about how some people don't appreciate family. Dad chiming in about kids who think they're above everyone. Caleb was just posting dumb gifs, like it was all a big joke. I saved every screenshot, added them to my folder. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it all, but I wasn't letting anything slip. A few days later, I found a cheap apartment across town. It was small, kind of run down, but it was mine. I moved in with what I had, my bags, a secondhand mattress, a folding chair. I sat there that first night, looking at the bare walls, and felt something shift. I wasn't just mad anymore. I was focused. I started going through every account again, double-checking for anything I'd missed. Found a couple old charges on my card, streaming services, a gym membership, stuff I knew was Caleb's. I canceled them, disputed the charges. I texted Dad, "Stop using my info." No reply. Jenny told me Caleb was whining to everyone that I was sabotaging his dreams. I almost laughed. Dreams? The guy hadn't held a job in years. The group chat got quieter after that. Fewer likes on Mom's posts, fewer comments on Dad's rants. Jenny said some relatives were starting to ask questions, like why I'd cut contact. I told her to share my side if she wanted, but I wasn't holding my breath for anyone to care. I kept building my case. Every receipt, every text, every time they crossed me. I wasn't just walking away. I was making sure they'd feel what it was like to lose me. Not just my money, but me. I'd been their safety net for too long, and I was done catching them when they fell. A couple weeks after I moved out, I started seeing the cracks in my family's world. It was subtle at first, but you could tell they weren't used to handling things without me footing the bill. I was at my new apartment, sipping coffee, when my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Call me, Ethan. It's urgent." I rolled my eyes. Urgent always meant they needed something. I ignored it and kept scrolling through my emails. Then Dad texted, followed by my cousin Nate, who only reaches out when something's seriously wrong. I picked up when Nate called. "Yo, Ethan," he said, "your dad's losing it over some bills. This about that fight with your family." I kept it short. "I'm done paying for their mistakes." He paused, then said, "I get it, but they're still family, man." I hung up, not in the mood for the lecture. Later that day, I got a call from the cable company. Apparently, the payment for the house account had bounced. I'd already taken my name off it, but Dad tried to slip it back on without asking. I told the lady on the phone to lock it down, make sure nobody could add me without my say-so. She said she'd flag the account and wish me luck. I texted Dad, "Stop using my info. I'm not playing." No response. Then Caleb started blowing up my phone, which was rare. He only texted when he wanted cash or a favor. "Thanks a lot, Ethan," he wrote. "Now I can't get online for my side hustle." Side hustle? The guy spent his days gaming and eating takeout. I didn't reply. My cousin Jenny texted me later, said Caleb was telling everyone I was out to ruin him. She added, "He's just mad he can't mooch anymore." I told her, "This is just the start." A few days later, Mom showed up at my apartment unannounced. I was eating a sandwich when I heard banging on the door. I opened it, and she pushed right past me, standing in the middle of my tiny living room like she owned the place. "You need to stop this, Ethan," she said, arms crossed. "You're hurting Caleb's future. You're making your father look like a fool." I leaned against the counter, calm as I could. "I'm just done paying for stuff that ain't mine." Her eyes narrowed. "This isn't how family works. You're acting like a stranger." I didn't blink. Family doesn't use you and leave you in the dust. She stepped closer, and before I could react, she slapped me across the face. I didn't move, just stared at her. She glared, then turned and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. I sat down, rubbed my cheek, and opened my laptop. Time to tighten the screws. I went through every account I could think of, old streaming services, the water bill, even a random membership for a gym I never used. If my name was on it, I either canceled it or locked it down. I changed my phone number on all my official accounts, updated my bank passwords, and checked my credit report for anything fishy. I started a digital folder, saving every screenshot, every weird charge, every time they tried to pull me back in. The family group chat was turning into a mess. Jenny kept me in the loop. Mom was posting cryptic stuff like, "Some kids forget who raised them," and Dad was ranting about disloyal sons. Caleb was just spamming memes about being betrayed. Nate chimed in once, said, "Maybe Ethan's got a point." Nobody responded to him. Then I got a letter in the mail from a collections agency. Opened it up, and it was for an unpaid electric bill from the house in my name, dated after I'd moved out. I called the agency, explained I didn't live there anymore, sent them proof of my new address. They said they'd investigate, but it could take time. I texted Dad, "Stop putting bills in my name, or I'm calling the cops." He shot back, "You wouldn't dare. We're family." I replied, "Try me." No answer. That's when I got serious. I emailed Mom and Dad the spreadsheet I'd been working on, every dollar they owed me, every bill I'd covered, every time they'd used my info behind my back. I CC'd Jenny, just so someone else had a copy. I wrote, "Pay me back, or I'm putting this out there for everyone to see." I didn't expect a reply, and I didn't get one. The next weekend, I swung by the house to grab the last of my stuff, a couple boxes I'd left in the garage. Dad was in the driveway, washing his truck. He saw me, wiped his hands, and said, "So, you're really doing this? Turning your back on us?" I kept walking. "You made it clear I don't matter." He stepped closer. "You think you're better than us, Ethan?" I turned, looked him in the eye. "I just don't want to be used anymore." He blocked my path, and I pushed past. He grabbed my box, tried to yank it away. I pulled it back, hard. He shoved me, and I shoved him off. "You'll regret this," he said, voice low. "You're not as tough as you think." I grabbed my stuff, walked to my car. "We'll see," I said, and drove off. Didn't look back. That night, Caleb sent me a string of texts, calling me every name in the book. I blocked him again. Jenny told me some aunts and uncles were starting to ask questions, wondering what was going on. Dad was telling everyone I'd abandoned them, that I was ungrateful. I sent Jenny my folder of receipts, screenshots, bank statements, the works. Told her to show anyone who asked. Some relatives believed me. Some thought I was blowing it out of proportion. Nate texted, said, "This is getting messy, man." I replied, "Didn't have to be." He said, "Families fight, but you're making it worse." I shot back. "I'm just tired of being stepped on." I wasn't backing down. They'd ignored me for years, treated me like a wallet with legs. Now they were starting to feel what it was like when I wasn't there to clean up their mess. And I was just getting started. Things started hitting my family hard about a month after I cut them off. I was settling into my new apartment, finally feeling like I could breathe, when the signs of their unraveling showed up. My phone buzzed one morning with a voicemail from Mom, her voice shaky. "Ethan, we need to talk. Things are falling apart. Please call." I didn't. Then Dad texted, short and sharp. "You happy now?" I ignored him too. My cousin Nate called, said the internet at the house got shut off because nobody paid the bill. "Your dad's blaming you," he said. I laughed, cold. "Let him. I'm not their bank anymore." Nate sighed. "I know they screwed you over, but this is getting rough." I told him. They made their bed. Hung up. I wasn't heartless, but I was done bailing them out. Then I got a call from the gas company. Someone tried to put a bill in my name again, even after I'd locked everything down. I told them it wasn't me, sent proof I'd moved out, and they flagged the account for fraud. I texted Dad, "Keep my name off your bills, or I'm reporting you." He didn't reply, but Caleb did, sending a string of messages about how I was destroying his life because he couldn't stream his business content. I rolled my eyes and blocked him again. Jenny texted me, laughing. "Caleb's telling everyone you're jealous of his hustle. It's pathetic." I told her, he's gonna learn what hustle actually means. Mom showed up at my place a few days later, banging on the door like she was owed something. I let her in, stayed by the door, arms crossed. She stood in my kitchen, hands wringing, and said, "Ethan, you're tearing this family apart. Caleb's dreams are on hold because of you. Your dad's humiliated." I kept my voice steady. "I'm just done covering for you all. You chose Caleb over me, every time." Her face twisted. "That's not true. You're selfish, acting like we don't matter." I stepped closer. "You made me feel like I didn't matter." She raised her hand like she might slap me again, but I stared her down, and she backed off. "You'll regret this," she said, voice trembling, and left, slamming the door. I sat on my couch, heart racing, but I felt stronger than ever. I doubled down after that. Went through my bank statements again, found more charges I hadn't caught, subscriptions, a phone bill, all tied to Caleb. I disputed everyone, got my money back where I could. I checked my credit, found a hit from an unpaid cable bill in my name. Called the company, sorted it out, sent them my new address. I texted Dad, "One more time, and I'm pressing charges." He replied, "You're no son of mine." I didn't answer, just saved the message. Jenny kept me updated on the group chat. Mom posting Bible verses about forgiveness, Dad griping about kids who betray their blood. Caleb was begging for likes on his content, but nobody cared. Nate texted, said, "People are talking, Ethan. Some are on your side." I told him, "Good. Let them see the truth." Then a collections notice showed up for a water bill from the house, dated weeks after I left. I handled it, sent proof I wasn't living there, but it lit a fire in me. I emailed Mom, Dad, and Jenny my full spreadsheet, every dollar they'd taken, every bill I'd paid, every lie they'd told. I wrote, "Pay me back, or I'm sharing this with the whole family." Jenny called, said, "You sure about this? It's gonna explode." I said, "Let it." She sent me a screenshot later. Mom had posted in the group chat, "Pray for us, we're under attack." Nobody commented. I started hearing from aunts and uncles, some saying I was right, others saying I was too harsh. I didn't care. I wasn't after their approval. I drove by the house one evening to grab a toolbox I'd left in the shed. Dad was in the yard, mowing the lawn. He saw me, shut off the mower, and walked over. "You proud of yourself?" he said, wiping sweat from his face. "Turning your back on us?" I grabbed the toolbox. "You turned your back on me first." He stepped in my way. "You're nothing without this family." I looked him dead in the eye. "I'm doing just fine." He grabbed my arm, but I shook him off, walked to my car. He yelled, "You'll crash and burn, Ethan." I didn't look back, just drove off. That night, I slept better than I had in years. They were starting to feel the weight of their choices, and I was just warming up. Over the next year, I kept my distance, but my family didn't let up. They'd call, text, even show up at my apartment, trying to pull me back into their mess. Mom would leave voicemails, crying about how family sticks together. Dad would send messages, acting like nothing happened, asking for a little help with bills. Caleb was the worst. Every few months, he'd unblock me from some new number, begging for cash, then cussing me out when I said no. Jenny told me the family group chat was a war zone, half the relatives siding with my parents, half just sick of the drama. I stayed out of it, focused on my job, my place, my life. But I never stopped keeping track. Every text, every charge, every attempt to use my name. I wasn't letting them off the hook. Then, about a year ago, Jenny sent me a link to a local news site. "Check this out," she wrote. It was a notice about a lien on my parents' house, unpaid property taxes, piling up for years. The bank was threatening foreclosure if they didn't settle soon. I stared at the screen, not sure what to feel. Part of me wanted to let it burn, let them face the consequences. But another part, the part that still remembered being a kid in that house, felt a pang. I didn't act on it, just saved the link. A week later, Dad called, voice rough. "Ethan, we're in trouble. The bank's gonna take the house. We need you." I listened, didn't say a word. He kept going. "Caleb's trying to get back on his feet, but he can't without a home. Your mom's falling apart." I hung up. No reply. Mom started coming by more often, sometimes with a casserole, like food would fix everything. One time, she stood in my doorway, tears streaming. "Please, Ethan, just help us keep the house. We'll pay you back." I shook my head. Pay me what you already owe first. She sobbed, said, you're heartless. I closed the door. Caleb tried a different angle, sent a long text through Ginny, saying I was jealous, that I'd always hated his potential. I told Ginny to tell him I wasn't jealous, just done being his ATM. She laughed, said, he's running out of people to scam. The utilities at the house started getting cut off, one by one, like dominoes. First the water, then the electricity. Dad texted, this what you wanted? Us in the dark. I replied, you did this, not me. Ginny said the neighbors were talking, asking why the Harper's house was going downhill. Mom posted in the group chat, we're struggling, but we have faith. Caleb was still trying to play the victim, telling everyone I'd abandoned them. But more relatives were reaching out to me, quietly, saying they'd seen the receipts Ginny shared. And Linda called, said, I had no idea they treated you like that, Ethan. I'm sorry. I thanked her, but I wasn't looking for apologies. I was looking for justice. I kept building my case, adding to my folder new screenshots, new bills they tried to pin on me, new lies they told. I found out Dad had used my social security number for a loan application. I reported it, got it flagged as fraud. I sent him a message. That's a felony. Last warning. He didn't reply, but Ginny said he was rattled, telling Mom they needed to fix things with me. Too late for that. I wasn't just cutting them off anymore. I was making sure they couldn't drag me down with them. The group chat went quiet, no more inspirational quotes or memes. Even Caleb's posts got fewer likes. They were running out of allies. One night, Mom showed up again, banging on my door. I let her in, stayed calm. She was a mess, hair all over, eyes red. Ethan, we're losing everything. The house, our savings, everything. Please, just talk to us. I crossed my arms. You had years to talk. You chose Caleb every time. She cried harder. We love you, Ethan. We just didn't know how to show it. I shook my head. You showed me exactly who I am to you. She left, slamming the door. I sat down, opened my laptop, and looked at the lien notice again. The bank was moving fast. I could have stepped in, could have helped, but I didn't. They'd made their choices, and I'd made mine. For the first time, I felt like I was the one in control, and I wasn't about to give that up. 5 years have passed since that graduation day when my family showed me I was nothing to them. It's been a long road, but I'm not the same guy who sat alone with his diploma, wondering why he wasn't enough. I've built a life, my own life, and yesterday, I got a chance to close the book on the past in a way I never expected. My phone's been lighting up with texts from Mom, Dad, even Caleb, 19 messages, all saying, we're sorry, Ethan, please talk to us. I didn't plan to tell this story, but it's been on my mind, and I figured maybe someone out there's been through something like it. It's not about revenge anymore. It's about finding peace, and I think I finally have. After the bank put the lien on the house, things got worse for my family. Ginny kept me updated. Mom and Dad were scrambling, borrowing money from relatives, trying to keep the house. Caleb was still jobless, still leaning on them. I stayed out of it, focused on my work as a mechanic, saving up, even taking night classes to get certified in auto repair. But every few months, they tried to pull me back in. Mom would send a card, saying she missed me. Dad would call, acting like we were buddies, asking for a loan. Caleb sent emails, begging for help with his business, then cussing me out when I ignored him. I blocked and unblocked them so many times, it's hard to keep track. But I never stopped keeping records, every message, every attempt to guilt me. 2 months ago, Ginny sent me a new link. The house was up for foreclosure auction. The bank had run out of patience. I looked at the listing, same address, same front porch where I used to sit as a kid. I didn't feel angry, just tired. Dad called a week later, voice broken. Ethan, they're taking the house. We've got nowhere to go. Please, we need you. Mom texted the same day. We're desperate. Help us. Caleb sent a novel-length message saying that I'd ruined them. I didn't reply to any of them. I just kept working, kept living. Then I got an idea, not to hurt them, but to end this on my terms. I called the bank, asked about the auction process. It was straightforward. Bid, pay, own. I'd saved enough from my job to make a move. I didn't tell anyone, not even Ginny. At the auction, I showed up, just another guy in a crowd of investors. The house went up, and I bid careful, not too high, but enough to win. Nobody knew it was me. I signed the papers, got the deed, and walked away with the keys. It wasn't about gloating. It was about taking control of something they'd used to control me. A few days later, Dad called. We've got a month to move out, Ethan. Can you help us find a place? I heard Mom in the background, voice cracking. Caleb was muttering something angry. I took a breath. I bought the house, I said. Silence. Dad stammered. What? I repeated it. It's mine now. But I'm not kicking you out. Caleb grabbed the phone, yelled, You're a snake. You can't do this. I said, I already did. And I'm giving you a chance. I told them they could stay, but they'd pay rent, fair and square, like any tenant. I wasn't running a charity. Dad tried to argue, said I was heartless. I cut him off. You made me feel like nothing. This is me giving you more than you ever gave me. Mom showed up the next day, eyes puffy. Ethan, please, let us stay for free. We're family. I shook my head. Family pays what they owe. Sign the lease, or find somewhere else. She cried, but she took the papers. Caleb tried to start a fight in the driveway, got in my face. I stood my ground, told him to back off or I'd call the cops. He stormed away. Dad just watched, didn't say a word. They signed a lease a week later, cheap rent, but enough to cover taxes and upkeep. I hired a property manager so I wouldn't have to deal with them directly. The first rent check cleared, and I felt something lift. Jenny called after they moved back in. You really did it, Ethan. How's it feel? I laughed. Like I can finally move on. She said, they're telling everyone you forced them into it. I shrugged. Let them talk. I rented out a second property I'd bought with my savings, started building a small real estate side gig. I didn't go back to the house, didn't check on them. I heard from Nate that Caleb got a job at a warehouse, that Mom and Dad were quieter now, maybe humbled. I didn't care. I wasn't their keeper anymore. Last week, I got a letter from Mom, handwritten. We're sorry, Ethan. We failed you. Can we start over? Dad sent a text. I was wrong. Let's talk. Caleb even emailed, saying he was trying to change. I read them, saved them, didn't reply. I'm not ready to forgive, not yet. Maybe one day, if they show they mean it. For now, I'm good, got my own place, my own business, my own peace. I walk past the house sometimes, see the lights on, know they're there because I gave them a chance. That's enough. I'm not looking back, not anymore. I've got my life, and it's mine.